Just mute. I need to just mute myself.
Hello, good day, and welcome. I don't know what part of the world you are in, but it may be morning, it may be nighttime. Greetings and welcome. Today we are here together. We are representatives of Blessed Community International, and this is BCI Presents. So today for BCI Presents, we will be focusing on Marfan syndrome awareness. Now, Marfan syndrome is something that is probably unheard of by many. It is quite a rare disorder. So today we have on our panel the president of Blessed Community International, which you will hear me say BCI, the president of BCI, Mrs. Brandette Herbert Ordain.
Hi.
Okay. We also have our guest speaker or the person we'll focus our interview on, which is also a member of BCI and is the Social and Events Committee Coordinator. We have Miss Swen Swift.
Hi, everybody.
Wonderful. And yours truly, I am Teresa Holder James, CEO of BCI. So welcome. Now we're going to just switch over a bit. And before we get into what is Marfan syndrome and our interview with Sven today, let's just hear a bit more about Blessed Community International from Brandeth, our president.
Hi there. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. BCI is a not-for-profit organization that was founded on the premise of one people with many blessings. A group of us came together and we figured because these are hard and difficult times, we should all be there for one another. And in order to do so, we had to form an organization so that we can legally aid and assist each other in several ways. One, financially, educationally, spiritually, socially, and on the entrepreneurial side of things. We have approximately 500 members all across the world. We're in the UK, the Caribbean, we're down in Africa, we're all the way over in the US and Canada. And it has been an exciting journey. And we are grateful and happy that we founded this organization. And so far it has proved beneficial for some of us on the social level. Because of COVID, we're locked indoors, and having the online gatherings has helped to buoy our spirits, and give us renewed hope in new friendships we formed. Um, Whenever we need each other, we're just a call away. We've even gone as far as to have our grant funding networking amongst each others, where whenever we have life-changing moments, we come together, we fundraise amongst each other, and we help each other meet their goals and achieve, the small things. That's where we've started. On the spiritual level, we've because we can't go to churches, all of us, we've come together and we've had our worship services together, which has inspired all of us to continue to rely on our Creator. We are a spiritual based organization. I must plug that in there. We do not do anything in BCI without talking to our Creator first. So, just so that you know, when you join us, and we do hope you join us, know that you're coming on and you are going to be blessed in so many ways, on so many levels. Looking at me, you see the smile on my face? That's a BCI smile, because that smile was not there 10 months ago. BCI has replaced my smile, and I am eternally grateful for this organization. And just to let you know, we're not just here for the fun of everything. When we say we are here to help, we indeed are here to help. We are here to help our members with whatever it is they are going through. And today's program will show you exactly what I am talking about. And now we will go back and hear from the others.
Blessed Community International invites you to join our global network of members. Becoming a member of BCI is easy. Just go to our website, blessedcommunity.org. On our homepage, select the option to navigate to contact, or scroll down to select membership and send us a request to join. We are also inviting you to like and follow us on Facebook. Find out more about our focus and the benefits of membership. We are one people, many blessings, and we look forward to welcoming you. So, thank you, thank you. That was a word from our president, and I hope you are enthused about joining us. So we are going to switch over now to Swen because she's going to introduce herself and tell us a bit about why we are here today. So you can go ahead, Swen.
Hi, everybody. I hope you've been having a great day so far. And my name is Swen O. Swift, and I am from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I'm a teacher by profession, and I am an individual who loves the Lord. I am very outgoing. I enjoy being with young people, and I like interacting with them. I like to socialize. I enjoy my job as a teacher tremendously. I miss them dearly because of my present situation, and that is I am a Marfan patient. And I want to invite you to join me today as I tell you my story. Come and take this journey with me.
Okay, so thank you so much for that introduction and for sharing your where you're from. So all the Vincentians looking on here today, we say hi, but we know you have friends across the world as well. So we just want to say welcome everyone, and we're so happy that Swen is with us and she's going to share her story. Now, it has a lot to do with the fact that she's a Marfan syndrome patient. And so let's just briefly talk a little bit about what is Marfan syndrome. I know for sure before I was aware, I mean, I would see certain people and I would recognize certain things, but I didn't really know what was going on. Now I am much more aware. Marfan syndrome is real. It affects quite a few people, but it is rare. We talking about 1 in 5,000 people across the globe have this disorder or this condition. So let me just go now to the Marfan Foundation's page, which you can also go to. And I'm going to read a bit about Marfan syndrome. So Marfan syndrome is a genetic disorder and it affects the body's connective tissues. These connective tissues are what holds the body's cells and organs together. And they also play an important role in helping the body to grow and develop properly. So, connective tissues are made of protein, and in Marfan syndrome, what we call fibrillin 1, Marfan syndrome causes a defect or a mutation in the gene that tells the body how to make fibrillin. Okay? So you can go read up a bit more about that aspect. So I'm going to skip down. Because connective tissue is found throughout the body, Marfan syndrome can affect many different parts of the body. Features of this disorder are most often found in the heart, blood vessels, bones, joints, and eyes. Some Marfan features, for example, aortic enlargement, which is the expansion of the main blood vessel that carries blood away from the heart to the rest of the body. This can be life-threatening. The lungs, skin, and nervous system may also be affected. Marfan syndrome does not affect intelligence. And this is especially important because you're going to find out from Swen how intelligent she is as she has strived throughout her life, all right? Okay, so just a little bit more here. Now, I did mention that 1 in about 5,000 people have Marfan syndrome, and these are men and women from all different races and ethnic groups. And about 3 out of 4 people with Marfan syndrome inherit it, right? Meaning they get the genetic mutation from a parent who has it. But some people with Marfan syndrome are the first in their family to have it. And when this happens, it's called spontaneous mutation. And there is a 50% chance that a person with Marfan syndrome may pass it along. Okay? So it's highlighted that knowing the signs of Marfan syndrome can save lives. So now let me just say a bit about how the body is affected. Let's talk about the heart. We'll talk about the bones and joints, the eyes, and the lungs. Okay? So the heart, there can be enlarged or bulging aorta, which is the main blood vessel that carries blood from the heart to the rest of the body. There is separation of the layers of the aorta that can cause it to tear. And there's what is called floppy mitral valve. Now, in the bones and joints, there are long arms and legs, tall and thin body type, long, thin fingers, curvature of the spine, chest sinks or sticks out, flexible joints, flat feet, high arched palate, and teeth that are too crowded. These are some of the ways the body shows in the bones and joints. And then we have the eyes. You may find patients having severe nearsightedness, dislocated lens of the eye, detached retina, and early glaucoma, early cataracts. In the lungs, you may find sudden lung collapse, emphysema, asthma, or sleep apnea. And the other body systems, you may have stretch marks. In the other body systems, you may have stretch marks on the skin that aren't explained by pregnancy or weight gain or loss, and swelling of the sac around the spinal column. All right, so these are just some of the ways that Marfan syndrome affects the body. But what we really want to focus on today is the real life journey of Swen and how she has been able to cope and strive and live a fulfilling life with Marfan syndrome. And she'll share with us also how she was able to overcome the challenges that she has faced because of this disorder. So stay with us. The month of February is Marfan Syndrome Awareness Month. BCI presents the journey of one of our members and leaders, Swen Swift. Thank you for joining us, and please visit our donation page by following the link in the description. We kindly ask you to donate. You can also launch a fundraiser towards the expenses for Swen's medical treatment. Thank you for staying with us and welcome back. Today we are focusing on Marfan syndrome awareness. And just in case I didn't mention it before, Marfan syndrome awareness this month of February is the month that is carded for Marfan syndrome. So we are pleased, Blessed Community International is pleased to come bring you this BCI Presents program where we focus on Marfan syndrome. And as you know, we are joined with Swen, one of our members, and she's here to share her story not only with members, but with the entire world. Thank you so much for coming to share with us. It's really important, I believe. So Swen, so far we've gone through, the signs and the body effects of the effects on the body from Marfan syndrome. And one of those was that these people are usually very tall. So I am going to ask Swen, how tall are you really?
Well, the last time I checked, I was about 6 feet 2 inches tall.
Wow.
Yes.
So pretty much I'm going to feel like small people standing next to you. It's okay. I'll put on my 6-inch heels and I'll reach up to your height. So
Yeah.
yes, so that is quite tall, but I mean you're not the tallest woman on earth. There
No,
are right. So I know quite a few people who are about 6 feet tall. So okay, I can envision when I'm standing next to you how tall you are. And for others around who don't know you, when you're standing next to someone who's 6 feet tall, just imagine. So that's Swen's height. But we're not here to talk only about your height. We are here for you to tell us your story. So we are all ears. Why don't you carry us through your journey and tell us, beginning with how it all started?
okay, it is a privilege to share my story with you. It all began, as far as my memory could serve me, it began when I was about 4 or 5 years old, where I was visiting my dad in the countryside. And when we were returning on the bus, when we got to our destination, we came off the bus and I just dropped to the ground. And I remember my mom keep telling me to get up, but my limbs were not allowing me to get up. So because of that, my mom said probably something was wrong with me. So she rushed me directly to one of our very popular doctors, Dr. Rowe. And from there, I was rushed to the Kingston Hospital at the time, where when I got there, I was diagnosed with what you call rheumatic fever. Rheumatic fever is a condition that affects the joints. You have very painful joints, and it has to do also with a streptococcal virus that one can develop based on bacteria. So that's where my journey started. And I had to be constantly in and out of the hospital. I spent most of my younger life in the hospital for weeks on end, missing school. And what I dreaded the most was having to take the penicillin injection every 2 weeks, or it started every week and then it went to every 2 weeks, and it gradually went to months, then it started to go to 3 months, etc. And I remember my mom telling me that when she was pregnant with me, she felt that she was carrying twins. And that was because of, she said, because of the length. I was very long, as she would put it. That's the words she used, that I was long. So that was the beginning. I think that was the beginning of my journey. as a Marfan patient, but we did not know at the time that that was what it was called. We were only told that it was rheumatic heart disease, and the penicillin would have taken care of it, which at the age of 11, I had stopped taking the penicillin. I was taken off of the penicillin by my doctor, Dr. Data, my pediatrician, and she told my mom I could either live, there's a chance of me living, a 50-50 chance of me living a very productive, healthy lifestyle, but there's also that chance of the disease, the illness returning. So from the age of 11 onward, I lived an ordinary life as a teenager, going to school, excelling. I went to the girls' high school, our top school in St. Vincent here. I graduated in 1996, and I went on to A-level college. And my journey for education, my thirst for education continued there.
So this is how it began. So, okay, tell us, how was your family? I mean, what was the reaction of your family? How was it living at that time as a child in your neighborhood? Tell us about your socialization, being at school, going through grade school, going to high school. How was going through treatment? I presume, you know, by now you're looking a bit different in height to others and so on. Tell us about that.
Well, my journey concerning my family, with my family, I don't think I was treated differently. They were, however, very careful with me in terms of the way they handled me. I was very protective. They were very protective of me. I didn't get to do or go much places because of fear that I would fall, because at that time I saw myself as being very clumsy. I fell down for everything. I'd be just walking and I would just trip over myself. My family, they were there for me from the very inception. When my mom couldn't take me to the doctor and stay with me, my grandmother would do it. And that's how it was. So it was a very, what should I say? The family came together in helping me to cope with the journey. I remember there were times when my mom would even cry because of the amount of pain that I would be in. Because when the joint starts acting up, you know, the pain would become unbearable. The fever would be high and the pain would become unbearable. And I remembered hating being in the hospital. And just a little joke, I was so tiny in terms of bony, because, you know, one of our structures is very thin. And my grandfather lived outside the hospital where they call Rose Place. And one day after my mom left, my mom would always have to tell me, "Oh, I'm going up to town to get you something nice and I'll come back." That's when she's going to leave me to go home. And one day I picked up that she would tell me this, but she would not come back until the next day. So this one thing, I was always a very troublesome child. So this day I went outside. I was in the yard playing in the playground. And then I went to the fence and I realized, hey, my head could go through the fence. So I squeezed my head through the fence. And, you know, once your head goes through, your whole body would go. So I crawled out of the hospital and I went over by my grandfather. And my grandfather loved me so dearly that he actually hid me. So they called my mom and they were like panicking. They don't know where to find me and stuff like that. And eventually my grandfather had to give in that he hid me, you know, because I hated the hospital. So
oh my.
it was things like that. My journey was really, you know, full with adventure.
What
My
about school?
right for school, however, from kindergarten, as far as I could remember, I was always the tallest child in class, and as a result of that, I was I was often teased and called names. Um, I was called, I remember being called string beans, long and tall, the giant, big bird. They used to say Big Bird need to go back to Sesame Street and things like that. Very hurtful things. But it, although it was hurting inside, I decided to use different avenues. So things that I was better at than they were, I would excel. One of them being singing. So I got involved in the choir and even had to do lead parts. And, I used to really show off at that time and stuff like that. And I tried my best always to excel in school. That is where I directed all my energy and stuff. Not saying that I wasn't depressed at time, because you know how children can be, calling you names and stuff like that. I missed a lot of school also. And I remembered at a very young age when the word Marfan syndrome first came on the surface was when I went to get my eyes checked. And there was a specialist at Imperial Optical, and he said to my mom, do you know that your daughter has Marfan syndrome? And my mom said, oh, no, no, I don't know. He said, yes, they're showing in her eyes, her fingers and her hands are very long. Well, we just dismissed it because he was an overseas doctor coming and talking about all this, you know, using all these fancy words that we didn't understand. So I continued to do my regiment of penicillin and stuff like that. I remembered my first day at girls' high school where the bullying still continued. When I walked into school, the the girls there, they all laughed at me. And I was praying for the world to just open and take me in. But my mom always said to me that the only thing that I could give you in life is an education, and you take it and you take it and you use it. Use it at the best you can to reach where you want to be. So that has been my aim and my motto. And she said, use what little you have to create big things. So that's what I continue to do, and along that end, I started to just excel during my secondary school, into tertiary level, and so forth.
Okay. Yes. So, I mean, children and teenagers can be so mean, sometimes without even knowing it. Sometimes it's not until years after we look back and realize that, going through those years really can be tough for for every type of child, more so for one who sticks out, who stands out.
Yeah. But I really don't blame them, because like I said, they did not know that it was a problem. It was an illness that I had. I was just unusual to them. I wasn't like them. I was different. I was completely different from them. And I even saw later on in my adulthood, one of my classmates actually apologized to me for calling me those names, you know. And one of those things where they used to call me a nerd because I wore these huge glasses and bottle bottom, they used to call them.
Oh my
Very
goodness.
thick glasses. And when she saw one of my pictures as an adult, she said, wow, perfect example of nerd turning superstar. And you know it warmed my heart that she had the you know she had what it took in her to say sorry, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this interview today, to make people aware, because there's so many persons out there who may be struggling with the same problem that I am struggling with, Marfan syndrome, and don't even know it, and probably have been ridiculed just like I was, and didn't know how to handle it.
Okay. Indeed, awareness is necessary. Yeah. And we're understanding that it's not just physical or biological impact, there are also social, psychological impacts, right? So tell us now about life, becoming a young woman. What was your life like?
Well, I basically said my life was ordinary, and like any ordinary young woman growing up, becoming a woman, like I said before, my aim and my focus was on education. So I just, anything that seemed challenging to me, I would take the challenge. So I loved teaching. So I went into teachers college after being a substitute teacher in Beckwith for some years. I went into teachers college and I did my associate degree there. Um, it was at that time that my world, as I knew it as an ordinary person, my life turned upside down. In my final semester, I began to experience what I thought was anxiety attacks. One day I was in class and I just started to break out in cold sweats and didn't know why is it that I was feeling this way. I even had to leave class that day. And I came home, and it happened several times. And then eventually I mustered the courage to tell my mom what was happening. Now, she was working over the Kingstown Medical College at the time. So she spoke to one of the doctors there, and they decided, because they had a group of cardiologists that had come in. So based on what my mom told him of my history of rheumatic fever, he decided that they wanted to take a look at me. So they did some checks. That doctor was Dr. Lawrence. They did some checks, and then is when everything started to unfold. They found that my aorta was tearing, and one of my valve was breaking, so it needed immediate repair. From there, I was placed, I had to forego my studies. I was on the last semester at Teachers College, and I had to forego my studies and come home, and was on total bed rest until I was able to get the treatment that I needed. And it wasn't a treatment that I could have had in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because there wasn't any facility or doctors who were equipped enough to handle my situation. So with that, Dr. Junior Aki had a team of specialists, some friends that he went to school with, that would come and do medical checks at his clinic. And I was asked to come and visit them. And that day they were doing cardiology and stuff like that. So they saw hundreds of persons, and thank God that I was one of the blessed ones who was selected to go for emergency surgery. So the whole thing about having to get the visas and stuff like that, I had to go through that process. And so I got the visa, and I was able to go to Portland, Maine, in United States of America, where I underwent my first operation, my first major operation that has me standing here today.
Okay. So it sounds like things are starting to get a bit serious here. So you had to undergo a major operation. You had to
Yeah.
leave your island. Now, tell us about your state of mind, your state of mind and your state of being at that time when you heard now what's going on and you need to leave St. Vincent to go to Portland, Maine for treatment. Tell us about that period and how you felt, and then go now into actually arriving in Maine and going through this surgery.
Well, when I found out that I had to fly out, is like, oh my Lord. And I mean, being an intellectual, I mean, I've heard about the heart and what the heart does to the body. And I am now, my heart was now giving me problems. And then what they told me, from the time they told me I have to be on total bed rest, I couldn't get up without somebody was there with me. I couldn't go to the table. I couldn't go to the bathroom by myself in fear that I would fall, because even a fall, a simple fall, could have ended my life. It was scary. I'm not going to kid you. It was one of the most dreaded experience of my life. And on top of that, it was the first time that I was going to travel so far. In my youth, I went to camps all over the Caribbean, um, Dominica, St. Lucia, Barbados, Trinidad, Grenada, Dominica, you name it. I traveled all over the Caribbean.
Was this
That
with a
was,
particular organization? Sorry. When you said you traveled and you went to camps, was this with a particular organization? Can you tell us?
yes, I am a Seventh-day Adventist, and we had every summer we would go to youth camps. The church would take the young people away from their normal environment where they would interact with like-minded young people and share their experiences and share their life, you know, things about them to encourage one another. And we did not only that, we did community service work and stuff, concerts, you name it, visits. I remember one of the most memorable camp that I went to was I went to Guyana, and we were attached to the HIV ward at the hospital, and the reality struck home that there's so many people suffering, and we had to know how to deal with these situations. And from those experiences, you know, you take life, when we talk, we took life for granted, but after these experiences, we looked at life in a different light.
Wow, that is something. So, not only were you a professional and intellectual, you were involved in your community, in your church, in work across different borders, in charitable work, in social welfare work. You were active. You were leading a quite active and involved life. And here it is now, you had to pause. And so take us back now and carry us from St. Vincent, your journey, how you had to go through different stages to get there. And then now you're there in Maine.
The first hurdle that we had to climb or get over was the US visa. We had to journey to Barbados. My mom and I went first, and my mom was denied the visa. And the reason being that I was old enough. At that time, I was about 26 years old. I was old enough to travel on my own, so she didn't need to go with me. So we came back with just my visa, and I only had a year. They only issued a year, you know, a medical visa just for a year. And there must be somebody to go with me. And the only other person that I could have gotten was my brother. He had a visa for 10 years and never used it. And with God intervention, God allowed that visa to have one more year, one last year on the visa. But it didn't end there. The problem didn't end there. When we looked at his visa, it was good, but his passport was expired and we had to leave in 2 days. Now you don't get back a passport in 2 days in any country.
Wow.
You know? So it so happened that God placed persons in our journey. There was a sister from our church who worked at the Prime Minister's office, who was able to get us the visa. I remember standing at the airline. It was a Thursday, that Thursday before Good Friday, Holy Thursday. And you know, they normally close town at half day. And I was there holding the people's door so that he could come with his passport so we could get the flight, because we were supposed to leave the following day, Good Friday. After that hurdle, we got to Maine via Puerto Rico. When we got to North Carolina, we missed our flight. So we had to overnight. And because we overnight, we also missed our appointment with the doctor. So instead of me seeing the doctor first, I had to go straight to the hospital to be admitted. So I was admitted at Maine Medical Heart Associates, and they did all that they needed to do, registration, hooking me up to machines, monitoring my heart rate and stuff like that, and prepping me for surgery I think it was the next day. Yes, the next day was my surgery. And that morning, well, let me just backtrack a little bit. That night, I was told I could eat as much as I wanted until midnight. And guess what I ate? Chocolates.
A girl's best friend.
I ate chocolates. And I had a nurse who was with me, and he was my comrade in crime. So anytime I needed a chocolate, he would go get it for me. And he sat with me, we talked. And then midnight, when I realized it was like 5 minutes to midnight, I started to panic because I knew, okay, this is it. And all my machines went off. So the doctors and the nurses came running because they needed to make sure that I was sedated, I was calm for the surgery. If my pressure went up, they would not have been able to do the surgery the following morning. However, when they calmed me down, I started to sing. And I started to sing, "He'll do it again." You don't know when, you don't know why, but he'll do it again. And that has been the song that has been carrying me through every situation of my life. God put that song as a constant reminder in my life that no matter what I am going through, no matter what Swen Swift is going through, that he is going to come through for me. So I remember singing until I fell asleep, and I woke up in the morning and all the nurses and doctors were busy prepping me and everything. And then they took me down to theater, but they had me outside for a while. And I remember seeing the big door, you know, when you're watching TV, those ER shows and stuff. You see the big door that would normally, they would roll you in and it's open. And I'm there in front of that door. And they were saying, they were waiting on my brother because they want us to say, you know, our last, what would have been our last goodbye in the event that anything would happen. No, he did
Wow.
not come on time because there was a snowstorm that morning and he did not have the winter jackets nor gloves or anything. And I remember, and I want to pause here to thank my brother Ozan Swift so much for being there for me when I needed him the most. I saw a figure coming towards the door, and I know the size of my brother. My brother was thin just like me. He was bony. But this person who was coming towards me was fat. When I say fat, you know, like there was this this show where this guy used to put on these like costume, like
Yes.
a sumo wrestler.
Yes.
And he was walking towards me, and then I realized it was my brother. He had to put on most of the clothes that he had in his suitcase to keep himself warm so that he could come. And that morning, the shuttle bus that will take us from the hospital, from the hotel to the hospital, did not work. And he had to walk to the hospital. So he walked to the hospital, and I could see my brother trembling, but he was trying to be brave for me. And when he came, he spoke to me, and you know, in his always jovial way, you know, he gave me a joke. I can't remember it now, but I remember laughing. Laughing was the last thing I remember doing. And I saw, just like on TV, the door open, and they wheeled me in. And that was the last thing I remembered. Until I woke up 4 days after the surgery. It took 11 hours for that surgery to be done. When I tried to read my reports that they gave me, there were some complications. And they were preparing my brother to call home to tell them, you know the bad news. But God had a different plan for my life. And I woke up. When I woke up, around the room, there was so many equipment hooked up to me. Everything in that room, just a small person was able to come in to check my vitals and stuff like that. The room was covered, and there's a part of the story that I do not know, because my brother over the years have refused to tell me this story, this part of the story. I did my surgery in 2007 on April the 11th that year. I woke up and I was in ICU for quite a while, and then I had to do physiotherapy, start to walk all over again. First, they put me in a chair to sit up, and then I had to start walking. I hated walking because you had to use these things that I considered, these were just used for old people. And I didn't see myself at that time as an old person to be, you know, walking around with these things. So there was a time when I became depressed because I'm a very independent person. I do not like to have to depend on anybody to do anything. And I had to learn, you know, even to be fed, you know, during my time at the hospital. I came out the hospital 3 weeks after surgery because I was not allowed to leave the hospital until I learned to climb some stairs. And my brother was getting tired of the food. He's young, and, you know, he had to deal with the up and down. And he came one day into my room because I was giving up. he said to me, Swen, you don't want us to leave this place. You don't want us to go over to New York to see everybody who we know. Because where we were in Maine, we knew nobody. You know, we were all alone there. And after he told me that, I kid you not, I got up out of my chair, and without the clutches, without the wheelchair, without access, I held on to the rails to go down the aisle once and walked, let go of the rail to come back down. And the nurses, all of them came out in the hallway because they couldn't believe the same young lady who didn't want to walk was now walking. That's when my journey, that's when my journey started, you know.
That's all the motivation you needed. That's the motivator. Yes.
Yes. So that's
so
where
you were in surgery for how long?
11 hours. Took 11 hours to fix my valve and to repair an aorta. My aorta was tearing, and according to the doctor, as soon as they took it out, it just fell apart in their hands. So you just imagine if I had stayed in St. Vincent one more day, that could have been the end of me. That is how fragile it is. And that is why, again, I'm putting myself out there to the world, especially in the Caribbean, making those who are here in the Caribbean be aware of what Marfan syndrome is and how crucial and how critical it can be if it's not taken seriously.
The month of February is Marfan Syndrome Awareness Month. BCI presents the journey of one of our members and leaders, Swen Swift. Thank you for joining us, and please visit our donation page by following the link in the description. We kindly ask you to donate. You can also launch a fundraiser towards the expenses for Swen's medical treatment. What a journey. What a story. I mean, that's a whole lot. So tell us now a bit about your period of recovery. We know that you were in surgery for 11 hours, then you took 4 days to wake up, and you went through a period of physiotherapy. Tell us a bit more about recovery. Were there any complications?
Well, yes. After I left the hospital, I did not leave Maine immediately. We went back to the hotel that we were staying at, where I had a visiting nurse a caregiver that would come and take care of me there. And while there at the hotel, I had a fever. That's where my pulse was beating and my heart rate was racing faster than heart associates. And while I was there, it was just like another movie. It's I They rushed me into the hospital, and the clamps, I remember them using the clamps on me. And you know that thing that they say, 5, 4, 3, 2, clear. I remembered that being done to me. And then I remember flopping like a chicken. That's the best way I could describe it. I started to flop on the table like a chicken, and I remember just seeing my brother standing up straight. And that's all I could remember at the time. And I heard, it's just like a movie. You just heard the flatlining, and I remember hearing my brother said, "Oh God, no!" And that was the last thing I remembered. And then a couple of hours later, I heard the heartbeat. There was a lot of people around me. That's all I remembered. There was a lot of people around me going crazy. And then the next thing I knew, I was up again. I was awake, and they said that I had flatlined, and then they had to do, I don't know what the medical term was, but they had to set the rhythm of my heart back. Now, to set the rhythm of my heart, my pulse back, they had to stop the heart and start it over. Now, this was a very crucial part where if they didn't get it right the first time, that was it. So what they were doing is that they had 2 syringes. The first one they inject, and the minute that all of that liquid went into my vein, they had to pull that out and immediately, within a second, place the other one in and make sure it got into my vein within 3 seconds, or I would have been a dead person.
Wow. That is quite a complication.
I went back into ICU, and I spent another week there until they got the heart rate back to normal. And then I was able to leave the hospital after a week. And then I was able to go over to New York City.
Let me just give an indicator to those listening here. What is this AFib? It's called AFib, but the full name is atrial fibrillation. And if you'd go online, you go to heart.org or WebMD or cdc.gov, you would read a bit more about it. So let me just briefly say the atrial fibrillation is a quivering or irregular heartbeat that can lead to blood clots, stroke, heart failure, and other heart-related complications. So it is pretty serious. Yeah.
And Teresa, this did not happen to me just once. When I got over to New York, I think it was a battle between the good and the evil, because I think the devil was out to get me. When we arrived at JFK, and my family picked us up in the vehicle and we were going home, a vehicle sideswiped us. And it wasn't really serious, but it was serious enough to trigger back my AFib. Now, when I got home, I felt the racing in my chest, and we called the doctor back in Maine, and he said, "Okay, just rest for the week, and if it gets worse," and worse it did. By that Friday, I was back in the hospital in New York this time, and had to go back through that same regiment of flatlining on the table, and then having to be shocked again, and then having to do that injection within 3 seconds again to reset the heart so that I could be able to be here today. I spent 3 weeks in the hospital in intensive care doing a set of tests. Then I was moved up to the normal ward, and then was able to go home enjoy, you know, a little bit of New York City in terms of walking around, making sure that I did take my little walks and exercises and stuff like that. But it was quite an ordeal. And I remember really wanted to, one of my family members, they were going to Disney World. And I really wanted to go to Disney World and I couldn't go. I cried because if I had gone on any of those rides, it could have triggered the whole thing. So you see how it's just to let you know how fragile this thing that is called Marfan can be. Some of the things in life that you would wish to enjoy, you know, just a simple fall for me could have been detrimental to me. And you have to be so very careful. And like I said, my life changed because there was certain things that I like to do, like going on camps. I used to still go to camps, but things like the hiking and stuff like that, I try to avoid going because I knew of the risk.
Okay. So tell us about your treatment, life after this major surgery. How many years has it been? And since then, is there a regimen? Is there something you have to keep up with, medication, treatments, or anything like that?
Well, presently I am on warfarin for the rest of my life. That is a blood thinner that helps to thin out the blood, keep it a certain level. I have to check my blood level every 2 weeks, at least every 2 weeks. And I'm also on a medication for hypertension. Not that I have hypertension, but it's to keep my blood level, my blood pressure down so that it doesn't affect the heart. But apart from that, I am living a normal life. I was living a normal life. I went back to as a matter of fact, I went back to teaching that very year in 2007, but I taught privately at the Sugar Mill Academy for a year. And the following year, I went back to college to finish my associate degree, my 3 courses that I had for my last semester that I missed. I came out successful on that. There was a time when I was doing that course while still teaching. I felt really stressed and wanted to give up. And I remember telling one of my girlfriends that I'm going to quit. I can't do this anymore. And she said to me, I'm going to tell our tutor, and that was a lady, Dr. Sandra Robinson. And she was like a mentor to me. I admire her. She's like a role model to me. And I didn't want her to know that I was going to quit. However, my girlfriend told her, and she pulled me up and she said, "What's wrong with you, Swen? All you've went through, you're going to quit now? It's only 3 courses you have left to do." I remember her saying that. And I decided that I was going to finish up the course. So the day I went down for results, when results came back up, she was standing in the lobby and she was like, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going for my results." "Whose results you going for?" "Not my results." And in other words, she's saying that I didn't deserve to come and collect the results because I was the one who wanted to quit. Now, she has really been instrumental in pushing me forward, and I was successful. I got all A's for those 3 courses, A pluses for those courses. I further went on to do other courses, but not without another of the symptoms from the Marfan syndrome showing up. In 2009, while I was in my classroom, it was a September, school had just started back, and I was hanging up some charts, and I realized that there was a shadow over my right eye. So I thought I was very tired. So I decided that I was going to just pack up and go home and get some rest, and everything would be well in the morning. When I got up late that Wednesday night, I couldn't see anything, and I started to panic. And I was rushed to the doctor, only to find out that my lens had fallen out of place. The fibers that held my lens together in my right eye had fallen, had burst, had disconnected, and now my lens was hanging out of place. I had to again leave St. Vincent. This time I went to Barbados, where I had my lens replacement surgery. Around that time, I came back and I was so elated because now I didn't have to wear my glasses. Just imagine having to wear glasses since you were 5 years old, and I was like probably in my 30s by then. I was so happy that I didn't have to wear the glasses anymore. And all went well. I went forward. I did my bachelor's degree in education in language and literacy. And then it happened again. I started seeing that familiar shadow in the right eye, and later found out that my retina was damaged. So again, I had to seek medical care outside of St. Vincent and the Grenadines because of the fragileness of Marfan syndrome. There wasn't any facility to accommodate me. So this time I went to Trinidad, where I had my retina repaired in my right eye, and then the lens in my left eye was falling out of place. So I had that repair also. So in 2015, I had 3 to 4 surgeries in between both eyes in order to be able to see.
So just for clarity, you're saying you went to Barbados in 2009, is it? Right. You had a surgery, and this procedure was supposed to correct your vision, and you were able to see. You had lens. Is it this time you had the lens replaced?
Yes, my lens were replaced.
Both eyes?
So it was just my right eye at the time. That was the eye that was affected at the time.
So what happened? Why did you now have, so you went to do your surgery in your left eye in Trinidad, but did they just operate on your left eye? Was there anything else going on with your right eye?
When the doctor in Trinidad, Dr. Ronnie Bowler, he examined my eyes, and he realized that during the previous procedure of the lens replacement, allegedly, my retina was damaged during the surgery. And so because of that, the vision started to fade in that eye. So he had to try his best to repair that eye, while my lens in my left eye was now being detached.
Wow. So it may have actually been that it's alleged that it may have been a problem from the previous surgery that you had in 2009, which now had to be corrected. And we thank God that, it was picked up so that, that could have been fixed at that time. So they operated on both eyes.
Both eyes.
And how was that? Was it all done in one go?
No, in 2015, from May, I was back and forth in Trinidad for, I think I did about 4 trips, 4 or 5 trips back and forth from Trinidad to do these surgeries, because it was a case where I had to heal first before another procedure was done with the eye. So I was able, there were points in time where the lens was replaced, and then I had to put an oil in the eye to keep, to heal the retina that was damaged. And then I had to go back a second time to remove that oil out of the eye. And those were excruciating times. When I tell you pain, I can't even describe the intensity of the pain of those procedures, But I still thank God that I was able to go through them and come out yet again and went back to life as usual, being Swen, being there with my kids, doing my normal do with my concerts and my teaching, and going out with my choir, school choir, and winning awards with them and stuff like that. And that was me. I was always on the go. I was always looking for ways to excel, looking for ways to improve myself. And after those surgery, I still went in 2018 to 2020. I completed my master's degree in language and literacy. And
quite an achiever you are. Wow.
Yes, but it's after all was said and done that again, karma has come again in terms of my eyes. This time, my left eye, my retina is now detached. Now, I was preparing my lessons for my online teaching a few weeks ago, where I realized that familiar shadow came over the eye. And this time, I started to panic, because this is now what I consider, my left eye is what I consider my good eye. Because of the intense work that was done in my right eye, I do not see as much as from it. So I'm depending on my left eye. Now my retina has detached yet again. And in order for me to save my sight, to regain my sight, I have to do yet another surgery on my eyes so that I will be able to continue life as usual, doing the things that I love, and taking up the challenges that's still ahead of me, regardless of my circumstances.
You know what I truly admire about you, Swen? You are such a go-getter. You embrace life despite the challenges, and you have had several challenges over the years. And yet again, you are telling us that you are facing another surgery, right? I mean, this happened just a couple weeks ago. And it so happens that as I said earlier, February is the month where we emphasize Marfan syndrome awareness. And we want the world to know that having Marfan syndrome does not mean that your life is over, but it does mean that you have to face certain serious challenges, and they must be dealt with quickly as possible, or else it can definitely be life-threatening. So here you are again, Swen, facing this again. What was your initial thought that day? You said you were preparing your lessons and you saw that familiar shadow. What's happening now, Swen, as you're going through this even now?
I started to panic, I started to panic because I know that this is going to be, if not remedy, it is going to be a life altering situation for me. I am a very independent young lady, and I I feel crippled right now because there are so many things that I cannot do for myself. Um, Although I tried, being the kind of stubborn person that I am, I still try to do things for myself. One of those things, one morning I was trying to do breakfast and I ended up burning myself severely on my hands. Um, the vision is getting dimmer. I see better in the morning, I would say, but as as it's exposed to the light during the day, it's it kind of is deteriorating, and I need to leave as soon as possible because yet again the ophthalmologist here said mind you, they do retina surgeries here, but yet again, as I had said before, because of the fragileness of my situation with my heart problem, my heart condition, they're not willing to put me through that risk. You know, they prefer that I seek medical care from um, persons who have the expertise in these fields. So right now, my American visa has expired, and I'm awaiting the return because I sent the documents already. I'm just awaiting the return of the the document which will allow me to travel to Georgia, where we found an excellent retinal professional there, so that we can seek the help that I could get.
Wow. Okay. So this is the plan. This plan is in motion now. But there are a couple hurdles, as you said. You have to wait until you get the visa, because I mean, this kind of condition with the retina detachment, it is best if it's taken care of as soon as possible, because it is not a situation that would heal on its own. It's something that may actually degenerate as time goes on, and the threat is loss of your sight. And losing your sight means losing a part of that independence that you usually have, right? I mean, of course, we know that there are many people with vision impairment who lead quite a fulfilling life. But this situation you're facing with now is something that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. But we have limitations in the very times we are living in because, one, of the pandemic.
Yes.
So getting that visa was not the usual process. Secondly, your condition and having the specialists who are able to conduct these surgeries or procedures on you, that's not readily available in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, right? And so what do you want to say to your own country, the Caribbean and the globe, about having to cope with some of these limitations and how to get over them? How are you dealing with these limitations?
Well, first and foremost, my strong belief that God is going to take care of me is what is carrying me through all of this. From the very inception, when I found out that I had to do my open heart surgery, I had totally depended on Him. And He has seen me through all of the crisis that I had to go through. To my country, I am hoping that somehow this video would be heard by the country, the region, the world, that Marfan syndrome is not something to be afraid of. It's not, once identified, you can live a productive life. You don't have to be, it's not a death sentence. I wish that the government of St. Vincent would find a way to help us as Marfan syndrome patients, because I believe that I'm not the only Marfan syndrome patient here in St. Vincent. I remembered while I was at college, Teresa, I saw one of my colleagues, and he was taller than me, and he was wearing the same bottom glasses. He had the humps, his fingers were long, his hand was long. And I approached him one day and I said to him, I said, were you ever diagnosed with Marfan syndrome? I said, I have it. Were you ever diagnosed with it? And he was like, no. I don't have that. I don't have that. And I said, there's nothing wrong with having it, you know. But if you find out early, it could help you. And he was in total denial. Sad to say, however, his situation was not as what is the word I'm looking for? Things didn't work out well for him, so to speak, because why? He was not diagnosed early. So I'm appealing to parents. If your child starts out with rheumatic fever, keep checking, keep going to the doctors and checking, because possibilities are that your child might develop Marfan syndrome. It's sometimes referred to rheumatic heart disease. You can find out by just doing an eye test, going to the ophthalmologist and doing a checking the eyes. If you see a child the chest cavity is not normal, it could be synced, but for me, mine was a little raised. Mine is not as pronounced as most, and it does not affect everybody the same way. So my condition is my heart and my eyes. I have, earlier Teresa mentioned stretch marks that you don't have control over. You don't know how they got there. You were never pregnant, you were never fat. I have stretch marks. My limbs are long. I was basically very bony when I was younger. I have one a little body now. Yeah, so
you filled out.
Yeah, so it affects people in different ways. But yeah. I am to the parent or the mother who thinks that have an idea that the child might have Marfan syndrome and think that there's no help for you. I am a living testimony that there is help, and you can get the help. You just have to reach out. And I am willing to be an advocate for Marfan syndrome here in St. Vincent. And wherever I go, if you see me on the streets, you want to stop me and talk to me, you can. I am willing to talk to you about my experience. And one thing I could tell you, if I did not have the intervention of that heart surgery in terms of the cost, and I know it was partially funded by the Marfan Syndrome Association, the Marfan Syndrome Foundation, I would have had to pay something like $65,000 US for that surgery. I probably would have been walking the streets of St. Vincent today, if not gone beyond the great unknown. So I am thankful for the foundation, and I am looking forward to spreading the word in whatever way I can, so that people would be aware that you may be walking around and don't even know There are basketball players that I know of who were playing basketball one day and they were there and they just dropped dead, and it was from Marfan syndrome. Their aorta burst in them. They didn't know about it. So the earlier you know about your diagnosis, the better for you. You can have help and you can live a very long and productive life.
That is really important for everyone to know and understand. Can you talk a bit about the kinds of help, financial help, you were able to access? Because having these procedures, having to travel outside of St. Vincent is definitely not cheap. So, how were you able to afford the treatment, the travels, and all the other accommodations that come along with that? We know you did mention that the surgery you had years ago may have been subsidized because of awareness. The Marfan Foundation would have had a say in that. Tell us more about how you were able to cover your expenses.
Well, it takes a village to raise a child, right? And in my case, it took a country, a community, a church to help me through this. Because as a young teacher at the time, you know, our salaries weren't very much. Um, I was the only one in my family who was really working. My mom was a single mother, and I got help from donors, um, from help from the government, um, organizations that I am a part of reached out to me, family, friends, everybody chummed together in one way or the other. And it was not financially, it was just moral support. And you'll be amazed how people would come together to help you once they know that your story is genuine and that you know you have been instrumental in the life of others. Because I think for most part is because I have been involved in various organizations, and also being a teacher. I've sang around the region. I'm a singer. I sing around the region. I've sung around the region. I've sung around the island. So I'm popular. I think a lot of people know who Swen Swift is. And just by my name alone is a name that when you hear it, you think twice about it and you say Swen Swift, Swen Swift, and then you allow it to stick in your mind. So it's a name that once you hear it, you know, it sticks with you. I guess it comes with my personality as well. So it helps. It was my community, my church, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines at the time, the people, family, friends. That's where I got my help from. And of course, from the Lord.
Wow, that is some life journey. I don't know about you listening to this interview, but for me, the experience, it's as though I was right there with her, listening to her tell her story. It is so surreal. How could one person go through so much and such a devastating life change and still be positive and still be a beacon for others going through the same thing and thinking they have no hope? Sven, I just want to say thank you for sharing your story. I know you're a very private person, and it would have taken a lot for you to open up and tell an incomplete story for us. And when I say incomplete, it's because there are parts of your story that you were not aware of, and others have chosen not to make you aware because of how devastating going through something like that would have been for them. Friends, families, members of BCI, this month is Marfan Syndrome Month. And I am grateful that this, my month, my birth month, is Marfan Syndrome Month. I was not aware of such a syndrome. I was not aware of, you know, people who look different, that it could be something so difficult for them. But I am happy that being a part of BCI, my eyes have been open to a lot more. I no longer hide within the four walls of my house. I am now more open to being out there, to getting to know what affects our members, so that as president of BCI, I can use my authority to move forward and help push the different causes so that BCI International can be a part of your journeys also. We are a part of Swen's journey, and we are launching a fundraising page to help her, because she's not just a BCI member, she is one of our leaders also. We depend on her to help us with our events, the coordination of our events and our socials. And in spite of her disability at the moment, she is still pushing forward to help us to move to higher heights. We are here for the long haul. We are here to help our members. We are here to do whatever it is that is possible for us to do within our member communities. People of St. Vincent, Swen is one of you. BCI is trying very hard to become a part of you, and we wish that you would become a part of us. Together we can help Swen. Together we can help the next person in our community of St. Vincent to fundraise for whatever their life-changing moment is. We're going to post the link for the fundraiser on the website here. And if you can't wait for us to post the link, go to our Facebook page, A Blessed Community, and look there and donate. This is how we help our members. We create the fundraisers, the fundraising pages, and we help each other. We donate to each other's cause. I help you, you help the next person helps me. It's our circle of life. We are not selfish here. We think about the next person. This is our commitment to our members. And we wish more than anything that you would come on board and join us. Help us reach the entire world. Help us because we are dedicated to helping raise funds for the Marfan Foundation. We are dedicated to helping our members, you, our members. We are dedicated to helping those in your community where you live. So join us, reach out to us. You can email us even at ablessedcommunity.org, www.blessedcommunity.org. Email us. You will hear from us. We are looking forward to hearing from you. We are looking forward to seeing you help us help Swen. It is an urgent matter, and I implore you, please don't look at the little that you have. Think about the life that you will be touching, the life that you will make a difference for, and God in turn will bless you. Thank you from all of us at BCI. Swen, again, thank you for telling your story. And we want to say thank you to your brother and the rest of your family that has been there and encouraged you to tell your story so that your story can help others in your community and even in my community here in Canada, so that they will not be afraid and they will be encouraged to help others and to get help themselves if they find themselves in the same situation. Thank you so much, Tersa, for allowing us to have this program and for bringing Marfan syndrome awareness to BCI so that we can help in every way possible. Thank you.